Hi, Mike Trout here, and I'm going to do talk about our journey to social capitalism because that's where we're headed. And the good news is it can't be stopped. But before we get there, let's talk about the pain, right? And really, the underlying question is, what is the connection between all the problems facing our planet, from climate change, which is actually global warming of our oceans, which is impacting our climate to the collapse of our species. We got 60%, 80% of all insects are slated to die, right? Because of the heating and everything else. We're losing our coral reefs. We have dead zones. We have all these problems. And ultimately, they're just the cost of doing business, or are they? Well, what you need to understand is that our business model is what's known as an infinite agent. Our corporations are immortal. CAGR has no endpoint. And basically, there is no end. It's going to just keep consuming our planet. Here is an ancient symbol that represents and predicted this, right? It's the Ouroboros. And the Ouroboros, the head, is our business model. That is us. The body is our planet. And we're consuming it at an exponential growth. At some point, we're going to consume so much that it's going to either create too much climate change or something else and it's unsustainable, and we're going to reach that tipping point. So our planet is what's known as a finite agent. It only has so much stuff. There's one ocean, one biosphere. It's all interconnected, right? And if you want to know more about finite and infinite games, really, we're playing this game. Our business model is the infinite game player. Our planet is the finite game player, and ultimately, it's going to keep playing the game, right? It's continually playing as the infinite one. Unfortunately, our finite player can only play so long until it crashes. And all of the problems we're seeing are just outcomes of this game, right? They're systemic outcomes of an endemic problem, right? Our business model. So you can say this is that the underlying code that's driving all of this is CAGR. Well, what's CAGR? Here's a simple graph of looking at CAGR in the millions of dollars. Here's another graph of consuming our resources. Same graph, same thing. It's CAGR, right? Here's another graph. Here is pesticides. And now this is, right here is where the systemic pesticides came in the 1990s. Now all our pesticides, which means water soluble. And here's the bee collapse. Now, I want to point out something interesting here, where the data, I noticed the data, you notice here that the dots drop down, right, from here, from the late 70s to early 80s. Well, guess what? That was when the EPA was founded. That's when we put lots of regulations in. And guess what? The bees started to get better. So there's a direct correlation. If we can change our business model, we can help save our planet. So how do we fix our business model? Well, Occupy Wall Street happened. Everyone was screaming about Wall Street and injustice. And I'm like, no, no, no. It's not that. That's an outcome. Wall Street is an outcome of the problem. Success equals access to closed capital networks. That's CAGR, right? We need to create a new sandbox. We need it to change it, and we need to be able to change the underlying equation. Well, before I go into that, this is what you have to understand right now as our model. We have a closed capitalism startup model. They basically are owned by the 1%, and the rest of us are just consumers, and it's all driven by CAGR. All right. So what I realized was we needed a new innovation framework. I call it the open innovation framework, built on the blockchain, because the blockchain allows us to write in any code where success equals validated idea. Well, here it is. This is a 2010 drawing that I shared with the founders of the first OIF, Ethereum, back in 2011. And I added the white to show you like how they changed the words, but pretty much everything is right here. Here's another image, again from 2010. I placed it to Creative Commons 2012 of it. And the outcome are these DANOs. I called them open corps back then, right? Open corporations. They're DANOs or DAOs, right? This is the roadmap. And the BTC just represents the blockchain. The good news is every corporation now is walking dead. Why? Because you can't stop DANOs. You just can't stop it, just like you can't stop the blockchain. Decentralized autonomous nonprofit organizations, DANOs, this is the difference. It's inverted triangle, right? It's decentralized. You have the founder, you have the team, you have the early adopters, you have the early majority, you have ICOs and OPOs, open public offerings, initial coin offerings, all right? And they're all connected. There's no differentiation between the two. It's basically the found ups and startups to DANOs and DAOs. I kind of added this. If you're not interested in if you're kind of greedy and you just want to make lots of money, then do a startup. If you care about the planet, you want to do good, do a found up, do a DANO. All right. So what is a decentralized autonomous nonprofit organization? Good question. All right. Well, basically, they exist on the blockchain. Everyone is impacted. Are stakeholders. You don't have to own the token to have a vote. If you're impacted by the DANO, you get to vote. Everyone gets. This is not necessarily true with a DAO, right? A decentralized autonomous organization. You may need the token for a DAO, but for DANOs, this is for DANOs. Okay, everyone gets just one vote. Just like in capitalism, you get one vote. Doesn't matter how many tokens or anything else. Doesn't matter who you are. All right, the only difference is this, is that you can delegate your vote to others. So there's something known as delegates. So when people give their votes to them, and you've got to be a living, real person. You have to, you can't be a bot. We have to prove that you are an actual living, breathing person and not a bot. And delegates can propose changes to the DANO code, right? There's basically hard code and soft code. The hard code is, think of that as the articles. The soft code, think of that as the bylaws, all right? DANOs are autonomous. They're self-driving. They have no trustees, no employees. They exist. There's no corporate office. They exist on the blockchain, right? And there's really only, and they're managed by something known as OBEY, Open Beneficial AI. And OBEY is a lot more than just managing the DANO. It's actually there to protect you as an individual too. So OBEY is there to basically look for what's going on in the dark web, to alert you of things. You control it, kind of like how you control your spam filter, right? It's not selling your information, it's protecting your information. And there's really two, there's active and passive stakeholders. Here's an example, here's a good kind of an explanation of the DANOs. Here, there are two DANOs working together, because remember, basically the first DANO we launch, 100% is going to launch more found ups. Of those found ups, they're going to become DANOs, we're going to launch more found ups, and so on and so on. This is what's known as a hyper exponential growth model to help solve and fix the problems facing our planet. That's why I say within 20 years, there's only going to be DANOs. Everything's going to be replaced, because if you have $1, you're going to say, hey, I'm not going to spend it unless you're a DANO. I'm not going to spend it. So voting with your dollar is going to force other corporations and entities ultimately to be DANOs. We don't need to force them to be DANOs. You will do that in the future. So I think you'll enjoy this. Thanks, Isaac Asimov. You can see here they have to be human and other things on it. So, all right. So remember, DANO is a nonprofit. 100% of net profits return to the systems. Doesn't mean they can't make profits. It's 100% of the net profits returns to the system for passive crowdfunding, scaling up existing found ups, right, into DANOs. It's always trying to launch more DANOs, because DANOs ultimately launch more found ups. So the AI is also trying to preserve the found ups and help the found ups, all right? It's kind of like, it's our baby. It's kind of like, think of a mother chicken. Think of the DANO as the mother chicken, and the found ups are eggs, and it wants to help launch these eggs. And other things are going to come out as UBI payouts, medical insurance discount payouts, all these things. Imagine getting all this without having to tax. It just comes out of the fact. Imagine if Amazon was a DANO, or Facebook, or Google, or Apple. If any of these companies were DANOs. They all will be. The future companies and things will be DANOs. All right, so launching our seed DANO. That's our biggest thing. Within 20 years, every corporation vehicle could be DANOs. That's what I hope. And that's what I've been struggling with, is launching our first DANOs. Now, I've been offered money, millions of dollars, to basically own found ups. I'm not willing to give away found ups to any one percenter for them to control it. Found ups to me is kind of like open source. DANOs is part of found ups, okay? What are the components? Well, the components for DANOs now exist. Aragon 1 is launching the tools for DAOs. It's a management app, DApp for it. There's a lot of projects, and ultimately it means forking, and we can modify everything they're doing. And hopefully they're going to embrace and put DANOs as part of their ecosystem as a project, okay? Number 2, open beneficial AI. This is, I have to give a shout out to Alinga Tahid, who's done a lot of work on this since 2010. He calls it proof of value. So the underlining work that he's done will be used for OBEY. OBEY is a lot more than just calculating the valuation. It's also does the pay. It does everything, right? It's just and as stakeholders, you decide the soft and hard code of OBEY, right? And then proof of benefit. It's compounded annual benefit rate. Again, OBEY will basically be the governance vehicle for this. It's non-exponential, right? So it's not based on growth. It's not based on on exponential growth, basically on markets or anything else. Instead, the valuation is based on how is this widget affecting our planet? How is it affecting our living systems? How is it affecting and sharing? How are people reacting to it? And in regards to sharing, it's UBIs, healthcare, education, subsidies. If the money is just going all back into the system, but if it's actually being used to launch found-ups, that a lot of found-ups won't become DANOs. I would say 99% of found-ups will never be a DANO. All right, 99%. They're solving localized problems, and it is because of Obey, because of CABR, or proof of benefit, that they're being funded, from cleaning up beaches, you name it. Here's an example of a project that I've launched. I'm hoping will be our first DANO. It may or may not. Okay, it's a US seed DANO. Every country will have a seed DANO. This is the seed DANO for the United States of America. It's called Autonomous Wall. It's a Southern Board security by the people, right? By autonomous drones, securing the data. Obviously, the noodle, the AI used to run that will be Obey. So the drones, imagine who's going to control the data of the drones. Would you rather be controlled by a DANO, or do you want to control by some corporation or some government? So autonomous walls are coming. The question is who's going to build it, right? And ultimately stop the drugs and sex trafficking that's happening. And you can watch a video on autonomouswall.com. My name is Mike Trout. Gosh, I wish my talks were shorter. It's hard. I try to fly through these things. I appreciate you listening. Tell me what you think. Bye.